On behalf of Tri-State Livestock News, the Fence Post, and Farm and Rancher Exchange, I'm Sam Tenpenny, back with more Fair Cattle Markets Daily headlines. According to the Haitian report, reacting to the spread of highly pathogenic H5N1 avian influenza in dairy cattle, the USDA's Animal and Plant Health Inspection Service will start requiring, as of Monday, the testing of all dairy cattle before interstate movement, as well as a negative test before movement, and that laboratories and state veterinarians report all positive influenza detections. USDA noted in a news release that they have identified spread between cows within the same herd, spread from cows to poultry, spread from dairies associated with cattle movements, and cows without clinical signs that have tested positive. They've also confirmed that USDA will be paying for all of the testing. Vilsack repeated previous statements that the milk supply is safe. Fragments of the virus have been found in milk. Those fragments were not live because the milk has been pasteurized, and pasteurization eliminates that virus's ability to be infectious. The milk with the virus got into the milk supply because asymptomatic cows were milked. Cows with symptoms produce discolored milk, which is automatically thrown away, he confirmed. The National Milk Producers Federation, which represents dairy farmers and co-ops, said that the Agriculture Department's announcement is appropriate and that dairy farmers stand ready to take a proactive approach to ensuring that we better understand the spread of the virus, do what they can to limit that spread, and to ensure the health of animals and workers. According to Tri-State Livestock News, the Bureau of Land Management revealed a final rule on Thursday, April 18th, which, among other changes, allows the approval of restoration and mitigation leases. The Bureau of Land Management claims that the rule is designed to protect land health while managing other uses of public land, such as clean energy development and outdoor recreation. But many federal land users are concerned about the possibility of this decision taking away grazing rights, timber rights, and mineral rights for current users. The final rule clarifies and refines concepts first proposed back in April of 2023 and builds on historic investments in public lands, waters, and clean energy deployment provided by President Biden's Investing in America agenda, which recognizes the critical value of our public lands to all Americans. According to the BLM, it is also complementing the President's America the Beautiful initiative to protect, conserve, connect, and restore lands, waters, and wildlife. The final rule directs BLM to manage for landscape health, provide a mechanism for restoring and protecting our public lands through restoration mitigation leases, and to clarify the designation and management of areas of critical environmental concern. Two different spokesmen for the Montana Natural Resource Coalition say that their organization has serious concerns about the proposed rule. Executive Director Todd Devlin and Ross Butcher say that the BLM has violated the law by not cooperating with county land use plans and by adding to a very specific list of principled or major uses for BLM land. The Federal Land Management Policy Act, which governs the BLM, states the term principal or major uses includes and is limited to domestic livestock grazing, fish and wildlife development and utilization, mineral exploration and production, outdoor recreation, and timber production. Devlin said because the language clearly states that BLM uses are limited to those uses, that the BLM will need congressional approval to add restoration and mitigation leases or conservation to its plan, as this would override every other use listed. Devlin is also concerned about the designation and management of areas of critical environmental concern and believes that this rule change is an effort to take more land out of production, similar to how the Antiquities Act has been used. Butcher said the BLM needs to determine if their intended plan has effects on the natural environment as well as the human environment, because in a plan like this, where they will take federal land that is essential to our ag economy and our customs and our culture and be turning that into a singular use, not multiple use, that will have a negative effect. Both Devlin and Butcher believe that the BLM proposed plan is in an effort to achieve President Biden's 30 by 30 proposal, and that the ultimate goal is probably to advance the natural asset class security scheme. And to make that work, they need a framework like being able to lease BLM or other federal land with the purpose of conservation to take it out of production. While the New York Stock Exchange will not at this time offer investments into natural asset companies, the concept has not gone away, and Butcher fears that BLM mitigation restoration leases are one piece of that scheme, stating that it's confusing how they are going to use it. The ramification could be that China buys the rights to national parks or conservation easements. NCBA, along with Wyoming's Governor Gordon and the House Committee on Natural Resources, all weighed in with their concerns about the BLM's proposal as well, with the final rule expected to publish in the Federal Register in the coming days. According to Western Livestock Journal, utilizing funding from a USDA program, the National Cattlemen's Beef Association and American Sheep Industry Association have been collaborating with stakeholders to develop guidance for producers in the event of a foot and mouth disease outbreak. The organizations received funding from the USDA National Animal Disease Preparedness and Response Program, and in turn, they developed movement decision criteria resources for federal land grazers. ASI and NCBA gathered an advisory group of federal public land grazing stakeholders to help develop resources for such FMD response. Over 2 years, the advisory group met both virtually and in person with sheep and cattle producers who hold federal grazing permits, as well as the Public Lands Council. Federal agencies were also involved in the discussions, including the Bureau of Land Management, U.S. Forest Service, U.S. Fish and Wildlife Services, USDA Wildlife Services, and the USDA Animal and Plant Health Inspection Service. The guidance provides resources to livestock producers to prepare before an FMD outbreak and include real-time scenario exercises to ensure that animal needs and response goals are met, including assessing adequate feed and water, mitigating wildlife interactions, and implementing what they're calling just-in-time biosecurity measures. While the U.S. is currently free of the FMD virus, the group says that these resources will help producers voluntarily prepare before an outbreak arises. USDA will host a webinar on May 13th to go over the project and these new resources. That's all for now. Tune in next week for more Fair Cattle Markets Daily Headlines.